in DC, District of Columbia, from the southeast side of DC, right?
Christi, I'm going to stop you 1 second because I don't know. My backhand just let me know that the stream started late. So I want you to start. We're going to start all over so everyone can get your introduction because they need to know everything about you. All right.
Thank you.
Yes,
And we're rolling now. Okay.
yes, we're rolling now.
All right. Well, thank you again for having me. I am Christi Venable, the CEO and founder of Smile Therapy Services. And we are a mental health and wellness consulting firm. By trade, I'm a licensed professional counselor. But before all of that, I was saying that I was born and raised in DC, east of the river, as they call it, on the southeast side. And so, went to DC schools all my life. Actually went to Penn State University for undergrad, in George Washington for grad school. And so, yeah, I am the oldest of a lot of siblings, actually. I am the world's greatest aunt, godmother, and all the things. And so definitely excited to be here with you today, just to discuss a little bit about my journey, but also just the importance of mental health in general, for everyone, especially women.
Absolutely. So tell us about your journey into getting into the mental health therapy career and position. Tell us all about that.
So I actually went to undergrad for business. Or I ended in business, shall I say. However, I started out as a psychology major, but I quickly learned that I would have to go straight to master's and not really be able to get a job right after undergrad. So I ended up switching, and I switched to business, but then I had a minor in psychology. I always knew I wanted to go into the field of working with families, working with youth, and even counseling. So I actually got my graduate degree from GW in education and human development with the focus in school counseling. So my mental health journey actually started in the school system. And so I started out as a school counselor, loved being a school counselor. I worked with youth from elementary, actually preschool, all the way up to 8th grade. And so I did that for about 3 or 4 years. But I just saw like the need, right? It was so much need there. And I was limited in what I was really able to do. And so after that, I transitioned to community, and really kind of learning the community, learning how things work, insurances, all the things. And I was there for a few years as well as a clinical supervisor. And I was actually putting mental health programs inside of DC public schools. And then, I thought, I can do this, right? I always wanted to start my own company, ever since I was younger. And so after really learning both systems, both school system and the community, I decided to start my own company. I wanted it to be high quality service where people that look like me, maybe came from the same places that I, have come from, was able to get quality mental health and wellness services. And that's what Smile came from. That's how we started. I actually started one student at a time. I was the only therapist. I went back and got some of my old kids from my old school. And that's how Smile got started. And then we just have evolved. We have evolved to not only doing community therapy, we have a school-based program where we have a contract with DC government, putting therapists inside of DC schools full time. But then now we have actually evolved to corporate wellness. So really looking at how do we magnify mental health and wellness in the workplace?
Yeah.
How do we really go in, assess, help the corporations to prioritize their employees' mental health and wellness? And so that's really the space that we're in now. And that's the space that I want to go more into because we see such a great need on the corporate side, organization side, government employees, just employees in general. And so that's really where we have evolved to. So we are super excited just on the journey. We're almost 9 years old now. So it has been quite a journey, and it still is. So just excited on what we are continuing to do and just breaking the barriers in the mental health field, especially in the Black and Brown community.
Yeah. You said a lot of great things. And one of the things that I loved when I looked up your business was the work that you're doing inside of the schools, but also, like you said, you're going into the corporate world. And these are two areas that, need a lot of assistance in mental health. But sometimes there's a lot of backlash and barriers and red tape that you have to push through to be able to do the work. So tell us, like, how's that journey been for you? Like breaking down those barriers and doing the work that is necessary for those two major communities.
Well, I'll say for schools, I think it has been an easier journey just because I came from the school world. And so I can really speak their language, right? I was in the school system for a while. And so I knew what the issues were. I know what their hardships are. And so it's really about making sure that the schools are also on board. And usually the schools are on board. They know the students, are in need. They know that they have a lot of mental health challenges and also the families. And so, I think we actually, when I got started, I was also doing parent workshops. And a lot of people, weren't doing that. They were just really focusing on the students.
Yeah.
But my motto from the beginning has always been, if you are working with a student, you have to work with their family, because if that student is going back to their family lives, and depending on if that family is dysfunctional, if the parents have mental health challenges and we're not providing support, all the way around, likelihood of that student really progressing the way that we need them to is very slim. And so we really urge both school side and our community side. If we're working with students, the parents have to be involved. They have to be involved, whether it's through family therapy, or we encourage the parents to get their own therapy as well. So that's really been our focus there. But it's also one of the main challenges is probably still that stigma around mental health. And so, the communities that we work with are probably in the school base is almost 100% African American. And so we still have that stigma of not wanting to share, right, our business. What goes on in this house stays in this house, right? We all know, we all have that. But, and there's still a lot of families like that. And so it's us really working hard to minimize that part and to explain to the parents how important it is to be transparent. We're not here to try to call anyone on you. We actually are here to help you. And so that probably is one of the main barriers, just really getting the parents on board and having them to see that it's not just the child, it's actually the entire family unit that needs the support, not just, oh, my child is acting out, they're bad, whatever the case is, because more than likely it actually stems from the family anyway.
Yeah.
So that's the challenges that we really have to push through on the school side.
Yeah.
Now on the corporate side, there are a lot of different challenges, right? Because we have been conditioned to respond to mental health in one way in corporate America. And that's for organizations, nonprofits as well. And so we are really just coming around to saying, how can we actually now prioritize mental health and wellness and not be so reactionary to it, right? So usually the way they deal with mental health is just they call your EAP. EAP is Employer Assistance Program. Most companies, corporations, they have an EAP system, but it's not really helpful. People really don't use it, even if they need to use it.
Yeah.
Why? Because once they get there, they're at a point where they don't have the capacity to even utilize it. And so what we're doing is going in and saying, let's be preventative. Let's be proactive. Let's really put things in place throughout the entire year to provide strategies, to provide interventions, to provide coping skills so that we can minimize employees from getting to that burnout piece. that is our goal, right? Let's not look at mental health like a one and done, just call this number. Let's actually look at it. Let's infuse the different therapists inside of your company.
Yeah.
That we can really support them throughout the year and not just one time. And so that has been a challenge, right? Getting people from the top to really change their position on mental health and actually putting the dollars behind it. So that's been our biggest challenge. And, but I think because of COVID, because of the workforce, how it is, because of retention and people not being able to keep employees, that they are coming around, right? People are coming around and say, you know what, we do have to do something different. We have to make sure our workforce is healthy. And so, that's where we are now, really educating corporations on how to best serve their employees.
Awesome. I love it. I wanted to ask you, how has the journey been for you in navigating all of this work that you're doing, right? One of the things that another reason why I wanted to have you on is because not only are you doing the work, but you have a company, you have employees that are also doing the work. How have you been navigating that journey of, of while we're helping others, that we're helping ourselves?
It's a journey. Our jobs are very difficult. It's very difficult, right? And so anytime that you have to hold space for anyone can be challenging. And we hold space all day for people, whether it's individually, whether we're doing workshops for corporations, whether we're doing what we call safe space sessions. We're holding space for people while dealing with whatever we're dealing with, right? While managing whatever we're managing. And so I would say from that perspective, it's heavy work. And I just really tell my team all the time, we also have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. And so we do a lot of things at Smile. We're actually pretty unconventional. Organization. And I wanted it to be like that, right? We have a very healthy workplace culture, because if we didn't, it would be very difficult for the therapists to do their jobs. And so, we do a lot of different things, whether it's giving extra mental health days, whether it is, we are going on a trip, we have different challenges, where they won trips to Puerto Rico and different places. We take time for ourselves. We have cookouts, we just have our day with our own self-care days for the staff. And so we try to make sure that we're also implementing really the same strategies that we're providing for other people, plus more for the staff, so that they can hold space. So they can continue to hold space, because if they're not their best selves, then they can't be the best for their clients. And so, we really understand that here. And it's important, and that's why we also preach to other corporations. If your employees are not well, they're not going to be as productive, right, as you need them to be. And so we definitely practice what we preach. So in that aspect, it's been a journey, just making sure that therapists actually have what they need to continue to be the best therapist that they can be. And then on the other end of just being a business owner, that has been a journey. It has, when I started this company, I'd never imagined what it could be. I know, I just head down, worked. We continue to evolve, and we have made great strides within the mental health and wellness field, but it's been a lot of work, right? It's a lot of sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears, that people don't see behind the scenes. We made it or survived through COVID. A lot of people did not survive through COVID that had been in business for years. Right. And we were still pretty young during COVID. We were only, third, fourth year. And so, I had to make sure that we managed that appropriately. What people don't understand is that, and actually I was just talking about this with some of my business friends, you can be very skilled at what you do. It doesn't mean you're going to be a good business owner. Because having a business is less about your skill set and more about you understanding how to run a business. So for me, it's been a lot of just learning. I wouldn't say that I knew everything about business, but I was a business major, which helped. And so I really learned the fundamentals about business before I got in the mental health field. You wouldn't think it, but I actually was a manager of a paint store. And
Wow.
although it was crazy, it was Sherwin-Williams. I worked there for a few years out of college. It actually helped prepare me to be a business owner because we ran our own store. And our store at that time was about $1.5–2 million store in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I did the P&L. I had to order supplies. I managed the employees. And so it really, and although I was like, this can't be my life, I'm managing this store. I was supposed to be doing something bigger and better. But what we don't understand is that God has a plan in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
And so it literally was just preparing me for that next level that I would eventually get into. And so I learned so much about business running that store that I really, and I took that with me as I started Smile, but learning even more. I'm always learning, I still don't know everything. And so I'm always just looking for different programs to get into, surrounding myself by other business owner so that, I could just learn much more. So it has been a very tough, but rewarding journey. But it's been tough.
I love it. And I love that you talked about, that step that sometimes people don't realize is important. Like sometimes you have to work for someone else, those bigger corporations, so that you can see, the process and what all goes into, running a successful business. So I'm so glad that you spoke on that. So, Christi, I like to ask everyone who comes on my podcast this question. I believe that as we are on this journey of life, we carry an invisible backpack, right? There's things that we say, we do. There's people, there's songs, there's scriptures that help us through this journey.
Yeah.
And what would you say has been in your invisible backpack?
It's so crazy that you say invisible backpack. We actually used that during a training with teachers that we train, talking about students and how everyone has an invisible backpack that they bring something with them. And so we had to make sure that, we are just, we're accepting of that. And so I would say for me, in my invisible backpack, I think first and foremost, anyone that knows me knows that I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. And so, just having that, that foundation, that Christian foundation with me, that's super important for me. I don't think I could have survived these last 8–9 years without God, church, prayer, scripture.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely in my invisible backpack, right? My favorite 2 scriptures, I would say, that is always my go-to. Of course, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Definitely one of the favorites. And then the other one is, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything.
Yeah.
And so those are definitely in my invisible backpack, especially when times get hard, when I'm frustrated, just having those scriptures with me to know, and to help me get to that next step. I think what else is in my invisible backpack is just the strength of women that have been in my family. I think I have a long history of, strong Black women in my family, and their resilience, of course, have been placed upon me. And so on this journey, I think about the hard work that my mother had, to do raising 5 girls, single parent. And I find myself saying, you know what, if she can make it, and get us to where we are as a single parent, not having a lot of financial backing, that I can, push through whatever it is that I'm going through. And so I definitely carry that with me as well. And I think just kind of family in general, family and friends. I think one of my friends are on here. I think I saw her in the comments. But having my, family and friends support as well, and knowing that everything that I do or am doing will make an impact on them, right? Will help them or our next generation in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And so that always helps me to just keep propelling forward and to be as resilient as I can.
Absolutely. I love that. So this next question I want to ask to you in two parts, right? So I always ask, what are some empowering words that you can give to someone who might be on a similar journey as you? And I want you to answer it two parts. I want you to answer it in the form of someone who is, wanting to start a business or in the mental health profession, but also what are some empowering words that you can give to someone who is having trouble with their mental health and not knowing which way to go to get the assistance that they need. Give us some empowering words from both of those ends.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna start with the person needing mental health support. What I would say to someone is, and you hear this a lot, but people really have to understand that it's okay not to be okay. And that we are in a time where you can go and seek help. Let someone know what it is you need, right? What supports you need. And seeing a therapist does not mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you. I am a therapist, but I see a therapist. So I have my own therapist. It's encouraged everyone on my staff. It's almost mandated that we also have our own therapist. And so, if you're struggling, don't think that you can't reach out to someone. Don't think that seeing a therapist is weak, by any means. We all need someone to support us with the things that we're going through. And so I would say, one, share it with someone.
Yeah.
Sometimes people may have different challenges and they never share it. And so they're suffering in silence. And don't think that someone may know that, what you need if you're not telling them.
Yeah.
Right. So I would definitely encourage that person to just share, to talk about it, to be okay with, talking about it. And start off maybe with a family member or a close friend, and then have them support you to maybe look for a therapist. And then move along that way. I'll also just give a resource. Many people, they find it difficult to find someone maybe in their network or that looks like them. And I know that's very important for us, especially in the Black and Brown community. And so psychologytoday.com is a great place to start. Almost every therapist that is a therapist that's in private practice is on Psychology Today. You can find psychologists, you can find psychiatrists, you can find counselors, you can find social workers. You can sort by whether they're in your zip code, whether they have take your insurance, whether they're Christian, whether they're LGBTQI plus. Like, you can sort by anything. And you will be able to find you a group of therapists that you can then seek out, have a consultation with them, and see who you think fits, your personality. So that's what I will say to someone who's really having a challenge maybe with their mental health. Just know that it's okay. We all have challenges. Just because people look like they're together does not mean they're together. So, and I would say usually the people that are big on Instagram, all over the place, and, they make it seem like their life is so perfect. Most of the times they're the ones that are struggling the most, right? But the way that they try to deal with it or manage it is through social media. So don't allow what someone else's life may look like make you feel bad about your life. So, unfortunately, social media has been powerful for a lot of people, but it's really been detrimental to a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
And so, never compare yourself, because you actually don't know what that person is really going through. So that's what I'll say for someone that's struggling with their mental health. for anyone in the mental health field and wanting to get into business, I would say work for a private practice first and really see what it takes to have your own private practice. You know, like I mentioned earlier, many people may have a great skill set, but not everyone is meant to have their own company. Not everyone is meant to go into private practice. Not everyone is meant to run something. You know, people may think they want to do it, and then when they really get into it, it's like, oh, I don't think that was for me. And so I encourage people, you know, even some of my therapists who said in the beginning that, oh, you know, ultimately I want to get into private practice. You know, I said, okay, work on me for, you know, a few, and because I'm going to show you what it takes. You're right. I'm going to show you all the things, all the behind the scenes. And then most of them say, you know what? Nope, not for me. Right. It's not for me. And so some people it may be for. And I would also say really think about what type of company you want to have. Do you want to just be a solopreneur, which is fine. It's just you know, you are seeing clients and that's what you want to do. Which is fine, but just know kind of what your capacity is as it relates to business. Because like I said, a lot of people get into it and they don't realize it's more businessy than the actual therapy. And especially if they choose to take insurance and they don't fully understand how it works, how to bill, you know, how to do those things. And now they're in a position where they're actually not making money because they don't properly know how to bill for their services. So, you know, I just talk to people about that. But I would say, you know, it's a lot of perks to starting your own company. But think about this. If you worked very hard for someone else, you're going to work 10 times as hard
Mhm.
for yourself. And so, yes, eventually you can, you know, create your own schedule, do all the things. But the reality is, you're going to work very hard, you know, more than 40, 50, whatever, you know, especially when you're trying to get your company off the ground.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that would be my words. Just make sure you kind of know what you want to do. Go and really study under someone first. Make sure that's right for you. And then have your systems in place. Understand how everything works before you jump out there and get your own private practice. And maybe you put a time limit on it. You know, I was just talking about this with some of my business owners. Sometimes people want to be a business owner. They really want to be an entrepreneur, but then after they're doing it for a while, maybe a year or two, they say, you know what? I don't actually want to do this anymore, right? I want a stable job. I want stable income and know that it's okay to say, I'm going to put down my entrepreneur hat and I'm going to go ahead and take this paycheck that I know I'm going to get guaranteed every 2 weeks. And it's okay. So I think a lot of people put so much on themselves, you know, to say that they may feel like, oh, I'm a failure or what have you, but you're not.
Yes.
It's either could work, you know, not work, or maybe you like it or you don't like it.
Yeah.
It's your life. Do something else.
I love it. I think that's so important too because people sometimes get caught up in like, I did this, I made the commitment, I got to stay in it. But sometimes, you know, things happen, life happens, things change, and you have to switch the original plan. And you
Like
thought that the highway was going to be open, but nope, it's closed and detour. Now you got to go this way. So thank you so much for sharing that. I want to give you a second to just brag on yourself. I'm going to take myself out, and I just want you to just talk more about, you know, what you're doing, how people can stay in contact with you, what's next for Smile Therapy Services, all those great things. I want you to just take a moment and go forth.
okay, well, brag on myself. Well, I guess just give you more context about Smile in general. So yes, we are mental health and wellness, and you know we have been named one of the fastest growing companies by Inc. Magazine 2 years in a row. So super happy about that. And, you know, we're just on a mission to prioritize mental health and wellness, especially in the workplace. And so, we work with a lot of big companies. Microsoft is our biggest client, working with Aetna, DC government, and other places. And so we are excited to garner more partnerships, and also continue to work with small businesses as they continue to grow, and help them to build that base for their employees, build up their employee wellness programs. And so that's really what we're focusing on now. And so if people want to get more information, they definitely can see me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Also have a LinkedIn Live, usually once a month. Our next one should be coming up soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter that's on LinkedIn Live. Check us out on Instagram, Smile Therapy LLC. On Instagram, follow us there. You can also follow us on Facebook through Smile Therapy Services as well. And so our website, www.smiletherapyservices.com. And we're focused on, really helping corporations who want to do something different, prioritize that mental health and wellness for their employees. So reach out to me if you are a corporate leader. We also have our wellness retreat coming up. So that is going to be June the 15th. And it's in Columbia, Maryland. I will make sure, if you do not have the link, that we drop the link in. But if you go to our website and go to our events and hit the wellness retreat, you'll be able to see that. Registration is still open. We have VIP and we have regular admission. And so that is for corporate leaders and business owners. We are creating, and it's called the Refreshing Smile Experience. We're creating an elevated day of self-care for leaders and also business owners, because those are the spaces where they tend to really focus on themselves the least, and focus on everyone else. And so we want to give them the space to really focus on themselves. So we are going to have some sound therapy. We're going to have great discussion. We have panel discussions. We have panelists from Microsoft, some people from DC government will be there. We have some other special guests that are coming. We're going to have some workshops, some candle making, art therapy. So we're going to be doing a lot of different things. And then we'll have a networking afterwards and throughout. So we'll have breakfast and lunch. We'll have wellness vendors. We're going to have it all. So make sure you guys are there. I'll make sure to drop the link. But if we don't have the link in the chat, you can go to our website, www.smiletherapyservices.com, and then go to events and register. So that is June the 15th. And that's going to be in Columbia, Maryland. So we're super excited about that. So other than that, just keep up with us. We put a lot of information on our Instagram page, and also on LinkedIn. So follow us there. And if you are at a corporation or at a company, and you all need some wellness support for your employees, make sure to reach out to me. Like I said, on LinkedIn, or through our website. You can reach out to me as well. And so, one, thank you for having us. Hope this was helpful. And, we'll continue on our journey in mental health and wellness. And let's make sure that we all are prioritizing our mental health and wellness, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes. Thank you so much, Christi, for being a part of this conversation today. Thank you to everyone who has listened. If you haven't already, be sure to share this with someone who needs that encouragement to know that it's okay to not be okay, and learn more about the amazing services that Smile Therapy Services are offering, and just in general on easy steps to get started. Life won't be easy, but it's a journey worth taking. So thank you all for taking the journey with us tonight. Have a great one.